Shujin Triple here, and yes, I'm driving. I know. There's something that I wanted to get off my chest and make a special, specific video about, and if you've been watching Holy Crap the Vlogcast, you probably have already heard this, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do it anyway. I'm listening right now to the Thinking Atheist, and they're talking about the travels that they're going to be doing in Australia and New Zealand, the Unholy Trinity Tour. And they're talking with Aaron about how he got into it with a street preacher at whichever other convention it was. And I'm having a good laugh about it, and I'm listening to it, and I'm getting upset. Because the street preacher went ahead and said that he was preaching a message of salvation. And please forgive me for not looking at you over here. I'm looking at the road, and I'm paying attention, so bear with me. And I had come up with an idea a little while ago, a couple of episodes ago from when I'm filming this right now. And it was kind of a unique take on the whole idea. If the purpose of the Bible is a message of salvation, culminating in the death and resurrection of Jesus, the ultimate scapegoat, shall we say, a blood payment for all sins ever. Which, by the way, if all the sins have been paid for, why do we have to worry about sins in the future? I mean, wasn't it all paid for? Anyway. But the message of salvation is supposed to be from original sin, being thrown out of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve, well, specifically Eve, who was supposedly tempted by the serpent. Not going to call it Satan, not going to call it a snake, it's a serpent. And she took a bite out of the apple because she was told, God just doesn't want you to know everything that he knows. And she took a bite, and then Adam took a bite, and then suddenly everybody goes out because God threw a hissy fit. Okay. So here's the problem. I was thinking about it, and I was wondering, what is it that we're all missing? What is it that I've been missing all this time? And it finally dawned on me. According to the story, the serpent tells Eve, look, the only difference between this tree and its fruit, not an apple, fruit, and the other trees with fruit, same kind of fruit, is that this one is going to give you knowledge. Same kind of knowledge of good and evil that God has. So according to the story, Eve thinks about it. This is the same kind of tree as that. This has the same kind of fruit as that. This one says, the serpent says, that this fruit has something more to it. And this one doesn't. God said, don't eat that one because it does have. So let me find out for myself. And she goes ahead and she tries it. And she is then imbued with the knowledge of good and evil. Same knowledge of good and evil that God would have, theoretically. Again, assuming that you believe. But then Eve's very next fully conscious decision, her very first next choice with this knowledge of good and evil, which she didn't have before, hence the reason why I'm saying fully conscious, because now she has all knowledge of good and evil, according to the story. Her very next action is to share this knowledge with Adam, thereby making her very next, her very first, her only ever first moral choice is it is a better moral good to share this information with the only other person, the only other human, than it is to follow the rule that's been dictated by God. Think about this a second. The very, very first fully moral choice given by a human, according to the Bible, according to Genesis, is that it is a better moral good to share information to help someone make better decisions, better choices, to be more moral, to follow the greater good, than to follow the dictates of God itself. If that's the case, and I think that there is a very, very good, strong case for this to be the case, then that means that the story of the Bible has nothing to do with redemption ending in Jesus. The story of redemption is right there in Genesis. Man redeemed itself. Man went ahead and chose the greater good than to follow the dictates of a tyrant. And at that point, that is what God is. God is a dictator who says, you will live here because I put you here, and I will torture you and throw you away if you don't follow my rule. Oh, and by the way, I've set it up so that you will fail. Because I created everything. I created the serpent. I created you with not enough knowledge to choose to follow me versus the master of all deceits. But now here's the problem. Who was the deceitful one? God said you would surely die. A spiritual death? Please. That's not even the case. So the serpent spoke true. You would learn all that God knows about good and evil. You will not surely die. God said, you will surely die. So what's it going to be? Are you going to hold on to the idea that the Bible's teachings about good and evil are what you have always been taught by your pastors and preachers and your other religious indoctrination machines? Or are you going to take a step back, take a look and see what the narrative is, and try to figure out, is this guy, who has no theological teachings whatsoever, who did not complete college, who doesn't have a degree, does he have a point at all that's worth investigating? I leave that up to you. You choose for yourself what to do. But consider, I, as an atheist, I will listen to somebody who has an opinion to be made, a point to put down. So apparently part of the road was ripped up, apparently. I will listen, and if somebody has a point that they can support with enough evidence, not only will I entertain the point, but if it's a compelling enough point, if there is enough evidence, I will change my position. I will spin on a dime and say, you know what? I was wrong. You're right. And I have done that already before. And I've said it before. No illusions from the Scathing Atheist. He had a very, very good point about what would it take for you to even open up, to ante up on the question of, is there a God? I thought I had a couple of really, really good ideas. And then Noah comes up with something positively sublime. And I have changed my position. I was given new information. I was given a different perspective. And I actually had to throw up my hands and go, you know what? You've got a better point than I do. I'm following you. I'm in your camp. Because it was the right thing to do. So I've got a couple of more minutes before I get home. I'm not going to bore you with the travel time. But I want you to think about what I just said. If you are a street preacher, an evangelizer, if you are the type of person to go out there and say, I have got the good news and I have got everything that you need to know in this book, I'd like you to reread Genesis. I would like you to reread the part that I'm referring to. And I'd like you to think about it. If you knew nothing else about the story, and if you're reading it for the very first time, does my position make sense? Does it follow the narrative that is listed there? Because, obviously, I think it does. And I'm pretty sure all women who have had the injustice of the failures of humanity dropped at their feet, been told the reason why you have pain in childbirth and labor, the reason why you have to endure the pain and the cramps of a period is because of Eve. You know what? I'm a guy. I'm just one guy. But that never sat right for me. Ladies, not all of us are bad people. There are some guys out there that are worthwhile. And with all modesty, I'm one of them. You all have yourselves a great day, and as always, I wish you the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you all well. And I very much look forward to hearing any responses on this. Either pro or con. Because I learn best when I have as many perspectives as possible. Until the next time we get together, everybody, you take care of yourselves. And good night.